and welcome to the Macil Duncan Show. We got a little earlier start today and got a lot to cover. I'm telling you what, I am amazed at what's going on right now up in New York. We're going to cover some of that. We got officials resigning right and left. You've got the New York mayor being accused of a lot of things, and one is being involved with foreign dignitaries and foreign influence in elections, and yet Kamala Harris has, believe it or not, Zelensky on the campaign trail with her. Does that not the kettle calling the whatever black, the pot calling the kettle black? So lots of that to go on, and not to mention, you've got a football player at one of the colleges that walked off and refused to play. That's right, a quarterback. Are we seeing the beginning of the end when he didn't get his $100 million supposed demand or something? I've got the story, and he refused to play because they refused to pay. That's interesting, is it not? The other thing is Panama president says that all this movement to America, this immigration, is leaving a wake of dead bodies and crime. He's evidently testifying that as George Soros opens society and groups such as that, as they're moving immigrants through the southern parts of down in South America, as they're coming up through to the U.S. border, they're evidently leaving in their wake because some of these countries not only are poor, they don't have the ability to handle the food, the needs. They don't have the military, the police, and we think our cities have been devastated. He's kind of saying that you ought to see ours. So all this move for global domination, it's very, very interesting. I've got a few things to say about that. And so as we get rolling, I just want to remind you that this is the Macil Duncan Show. We're here on the USA HeartbeatRadio.com and Street Level America. I'm excited about today's show. As I mentioned, my friends, just a moment ago, we are excited about today's show. And this is the Macil Duncan Show, carried live on USAHeartbeat.com, StreetLevelAmerica.com. That has me now in 37 states, Mexico, and Canada, and we appreciate that. If you haven't had a chance to look at my book, Move Your Mountains, please look at ordering it today. You can get it on Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Nobles, etc. And Thrifty Books tends to have sales from time to time. But Move Your Mountains, it's a journey of faith. And if you'd like to get my book, I hope and pray it blesses your life. We have been now selling this for a year officially in 3 weeks. It came out the last week there, if you will, of October last year. So we're blessed. I'm tickled with it. It's one of those projects you want to deal with. You've always had on your list, and I've got another book I'd like to write as well. Well, today we went downtown to pass out food supplies, and I got to meet a guy named Harold. I just want to tell you quickly about this. As we go downtown to give out food and supplies, every now and then I get the criticism from some of and it's sadly wealthy GOP people. They say, Macil, don't you think all you do are enhancing and encouraging bad behavior, drug addicts, prostitutes, etc.? And I really want to say shame on you for thinking that way, but I say no, I really don't. When I get to go downtown and give out the food packages and the supplies like we do, I'm rather surprised at the greeting. But today I did something different. I'm not one. I do not twist arms. I'm not an arm twister. But I did a mini sermon, and before we handed out the food, I said, I just want you to know I am here to tell you I love you. I've been down here nearly 4 years. And many of you call me preacher man in the white van. And some of them started clapping. And I said, listen, as you guys know, I don't ever say you have to say a prayer or make a religious statement or profession to get the supplies, and you don't today. But I want to be clear that there is a God that loves you. And as I shared the gospel of Christ and who Jesus was, I felt like I was in a Baptist Pentecostal church. They were amen and excited. So when I got done, I said a prayer, and I said, I'm available for anyone that wants to talk to me after we give out the food. Because I never want them to think they have to get food to get food. That's not my deal. So we gave out most of the supplies, and I was wrapping up the day with a Facebook Live. You can go on one of my Facebook pages and see it. And a black gentleman came up and said, can I speak with you, Pastor? I said, sure. As he came up to speak with me, he said, hey, my name's Harold, and we got to talking. And first he wanted to see my biblical acuity. He was kind of giving me doctrinal questions. It's obvious he had studied the Bible. And he wanted to know that I believed in faith by grace and not by works. I guess he was concerned I was out here working for my salvation. I said, oh, no. So anyway, we got to talking, and he's a former Chattanoogan that's moved back from St. Louis. And he was showing me he'd just gotten his Social Security, his driver's license, etc., and they give you these nice weatherproof tags. And he had been off and on, but he'd been down and seen me give out food the past several weeks, and he'd heard from the others I've been doing this for several years. And this is, he said, Pastor, I just want you to know something. It's people like you that's helped me, because I had a good life, lost it, been homeless. He said, but I've got a job. I start next week. I've got my papers. He was excited. And he said, I just want to thank you. And it's good to hear that your church does this and for the right reasons, etc. So we just talked, praise God. And he just wanted me to pray over him, because he was thanking God that he had gotten the job and things were going well for his life. And so as I'm praying for him, the Holy Spirit just told me, give him the bill. And you may say, what's the bill? Every now and then people give me money to use. And someone had given me a $50 bill and said, Macil, I trust your judgment. Give it to somebody on the street that needs it. This guy didn't ask me for money now, mind you. But we'd had a good 20-minute conversation and prayer. And as we got done praying, I said, I want to bless you, my friend. And as I went to the van, I got that $50 bill. And I said, I want to give this to you, my friend, and bless you. And he went on to say, Pastor, and tears were in his eyes, he goes, I didn't want to ask you. I just asking God, I needed $50 for a few supplies for my new job. There's some things I have to buy, because I'm going to be working in a refrigerated environment. I've got to buy a coat, etc. He was, and I was praying for $50. Now some of you may think that's quirky. I think it's God. So I want to thank one of my listeners that gave me the $50 bill to give. I want to thank God, of course, and I want to pray for Harold. Keep Harold in your prayers. I believe he's genuine. He had a walk, and this is what he said to me, and I'll close with this, with Harold. He said, you know, some people complain to God about their lot in life. He goes, I've learned just to say, God, thank you for what I have. He goes, I don't have much, but I'm grateful for what I have. Harold, you're one of a kind, my friend. Well, as we're hearing all these things going on in the country right now, people are freaking out. You've got P. Diddy, you know, Hollyweird. We're finding out more and more about Justin Bieber being evidently groomed by Usher, who was groomed by P. Diddy. And I've got some clips I may play for you. It's very sad. People are coming forward. And as all this sexual scandal's coming out, you're hearing stuff about the Kardashians, I can't say these guys' names because I don't watch a lot of the Hollywood weirdos. But as this stuff's coming out, you're saying, wow, why now? I know it's election time. But you're going, wow. And then all of a sudden you're hearing this unexpected tropical storm. Wow. And then you're hearing the mayor of New York City and a lot of officials, they're either resigning or being pressured to resign. Of course, the mayor's at this point saying, I'm not resigning, but the FBI's raiding his house. They've been messing with him for a while. And he's the only Democratic mayor that has spoken out against the border and mass immigrations in the large cities. And he's every time he's spoken out, he gets raided by the FBI. So you start looking at all this stuff and you're saying, is there something? Then all of a sudden we're going to have a strike at the docks. It could shut down the economy for for several weeks. And if they're claiming that if the strike lasts only a week to 2 weeks, it could set us back for a year. So you're going, wow, all this stuff happening right now. What is going on? Don't know. But it just seems in my spirit. It just, I don't know, maybe it's not you, but when all the news tries to get you looking over here, I'm the guy that looks over here. What's going on? What's going on? Got a couple of things to throw at you. One is, did you know the Associated Press just released that 23andMe directors resign as the CEO of the genetic testing company seeks to take it private? And you say, what's the big deal? Well, remember back when everybody wanted to get that Ancestry.com, they pushed that, hey, take your DNA and send it in. And I'm like going, heck no, I'm not giving my DNA to total strangers. They have been using, some of you foolishly did that. This is part of the scam they're working on right before COVID and stuff. They were trying to see where people lived in populations, and if they were to have a germ or a breakout of, say, a COVID virus, what parts of the country with your DNA willfully submitted and blood, where were the where's the weak spots in the country? Well, all of 23andMe independent directors resigned from its board this week. Just now, when all of them resign at the same time, something's wrong, okay? A rare move that marks the latest challenge for the generic testing company. The resignations follow drawn-out negotiations with 23andMe CEO and co-founder Ann Wojcicki, who wants to take the company private. So anyway, that's their ruse. The director said they would be resigning effective immediately, arguing that while they still believed in 23andMe's mission, their departure were for the best due to the consecrated voting power and a clear difference of opinion on the company's future. Now, some are saying there is whistleblowing going on that in 23andMe and some of these genetic testing sites, that there is a connection with the child sex trafficking going across the world. Somehow, there's something in the blood of children that can prolong life. You've heard the term adrenochrome. It's a real product. Hollywood even did a movie making fun and laughing that, yeah, you can take the blood of children and it can de-escalate the aging process. The only problem is once you quit taking the adrenochrome, your body like immediately goes back to the age it was and like even worse. But this adrenochrome and these genetic things they've been doing, there's something happening across the world that's making people skeptic. Now, I bring to you then this global story. Giorgia Milano calls for global action against child slavery and human trafficking at UN Assembly. Hello. The one conservative. Next to Donald Trump, she's probably the most conservative global leader that we've had in several generations. And you remember, they tried to block her out of re-election. But in a world that often prides itself on human rights advancements, it is a shocking that child slavery and human trafficking continue to thrive at alarming levels. Now, the Italian Prime Minister, Meloni, in her recent speech at the United Nations General Assembly, issued a strong appeal for the international community to intensify efforts to combat this heinous crime. She also touted that in a recent interview prior to that their immigration's down 64%. They've tightened their borders. They've made deals with surrounding countries, and they said their immigration influx is down 64%. Now, she didn't say she built a wall, but she did something to stop it, not encourage it. Savvy? So, as you're sensing that, there seems to be a panic right now among the elites. When you see all the things happening with P. Diddy and Hollywood, and you're seeing the panic in New York City alone. Now, let me remind you, it was New York City when Donald Trump was president. And don't forget, he's a former New Yorker. So who would know all the crimes and the crooks and the craziness of New York but a fellow New Yorker? Savvy? Put your thinking hat on and try not to be a Democrat or Republican just for a moment. Donald Trump, under his presidency, took down Nexium. Remember Lanier and Allison Mack? You know, there's always a procurer, a female, Allison Mack, and the dirty dude, which is Lanier. They took down Weinstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Took down Harvey Weinstein. So Epstein, all these folks. You look back, and under Donald Trump's 4 years, he did more damage to the child sex trafficking. He had more arrests on pedophiles and child sex trafficking in 4 years than Jimmy Carter all the way up through the Obamas. Now, please go back and try to fact check that. But I say that to tell you that there seems to be something going on at the moment that has people concerned. Some people feel the reason that there's a possible strike at the docks is because the child sex trafficking kids are being bussed or shipped, if you will, in on containers. That has been proven. And the thing that makes child sex trafficking so wealthy is you move kids to other languages that don't speak your language. So say you take a kid kidnapped in America, you send them over to another country where they don't speak English. The kid can scream all day long, help me, and they don't know what you're saying. Same thing as you bring a kid from Haitian kid, to America. They're crying out in their language, and we can understand them. See, the child sex trafficking is a very lucrative career. Matter of fact, they're saying now in the black market now for 5 years, above guns and drugs, child sex trafficking is the #1 product on the black market. So I tell you this to say the thing that's coming out in the Diddy, and you can go and check multiple sources. So many's talking about it. So I hesitate to get too much into it because there's so many sources with so many details. But these freak parties is what they called them. They were sex parties. P. Diddy would have high people over high level. And by the way, T.D. Jakes just resigned his church. Evidently what was said was true. He was at the parties with P. Diddy. But as these folks would do this, they would oil up with this Johnson & Johnson oil. But inside the oil, there was something mixed that would interact with you to make you, I guess, be more submissive to their desires. They'd also spike some drinks. But with that, thousands of Johnson & Johnson body oil was taken, as long as other things when the feds raided. He had cameras in every room, just like Hugh Hefner. See, this is not Epstein, P. Diddy, Hugh Hefner. A lot of these folks seem to have some tie back to the government because what evidently the bottom line is, they get a high-profile athlete, politician, a judge, somebody of influence, a preacher like a T.D. Jakes. They get you, slip you a Mickey if you want to call it that, and then you're naked in a room with underage people or somebody or something that's not your partner in life, and you're very vulnerable. You're very open to being a partner then in the future. And I'm saying that to say this, there's so much evidence coming out right now and people coming forward, especially some of the low-level stars that are pretty much tattletale on the big stars, that they were raped, manipulated, etc., and drugged. That there seems to be a connection with, and this is weird, the CIA. Candace Parks, many of you guys know her. She's a very well studied. She was on the Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God, and she said, you can go look it up. There's a CIA part in their budget to work with Hollywood films, and that the CIA and the Pentagon actually want to help create and form the narratives so that we can control what people think and react and make our people always look like the good guys, and they can portray who they say are the bad guys. Now, think about this with me. When Elon Musk took over Twitter, he identified that yes, the FBI, Homeland Security, and CIA had monthly, if not weekly, meetings with Twitter, and they controlled what came out of Twitter. And if you remember back in the day, it was Twitter used on Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, and stuff. So and so Twittered this, so and so tweeted that. Therefore, when Donald Trump had his attacks, we remember back in 2016, he was able to use Twitter to go around the narrative and portray his side of things. And that's one reason they banned him from Twitter in 2020. Savvy? Of course, he started his own True Social, and etc. So there's been a battle among the social media. Telegraph founder has been arrested. As you guys know, he's being held. Russia and several countries now are banning Telegraph. Okay, others are banning X, which is the former Twitter. Facebook seems to still be everywhere. So I guess Facebook is still considered a friendly friend to the people that control these things. With all that said, you and I, the average Joe, the average citizen, and this is what I go back to my friend Harold I mentioned earlier, the gentleman of color I prayed with today. I told him, I said, Harold, you know what's interesting is you're a man of black, I am white. There's people that don't like the thought that you and I could actually have a calm conversation down here in the middle of Chattanooga. And he agreed. I said, don't you find it funny every 4 years there's something that tries to put a racial divide right before the elections, and they try to keep us from cooperating and listening. And he goes, exactly. And this is what he said. He goes, that's why the 10 Commandments are so clear. So many focus on the 6 commandments, but they don't focus on the first 4 that talk about a relationship with God. This guy was deep. I loved it. He said, you've got to have a walk with the Spirit so you can discern right from wrong. And then I mentioned to him about the rich young ruler. If you remember the rich young ruler, when Jesus talked with him, and he said, he basically, Jesus said, hey, why don't you sell all that you own and come follow me? Now, he could have been the 13th disciple. But Jesus asked him about the 6 commandments that dealt with man. And remember what he said? Oh, I've kept these from my youth. If he kept them all from his youth, why didn't he say, hey, Jesus, by the way, don't forget the 4 commands that deal with God? He didn't even touch them or talk about them. I think that's why Jesus put the challenge to him. But it says he walked away grieved, for he owned much. Many Christians today, I believe, walk around grieved, for they own much on this world. They don't know what it's like to sacrifice and give. You ought to go downtown with me sometime and meet some great people, pray with people, and meet them. Well, we're about at a commercial break here. I'll be back after the break. This is the Macil Duncan Show here on the USAHeartbeat.com and StreetLevelAmerica.com. Don't change the channel.
Hello, my name's Dave. I'm a Vietnam veteran and live in North Georgia, not far from East Ridge, Tennessee. I like listening to Patriot Pastor Macil Duncan. He keeps up with fast-moving news, which keeps me on the cutting edge of information that we all need to know. I like the music and stories he has. I like that he helps the homeless folk and we could all help with that. I love God, and America is my country. Thank you for all that you do. Goodbye.
WVMG Chattanooga.
Little boy blue, come blow on your horn. The sheep's in the meadow, the cow's in the corn. You've messed up again. What's the matter with you? Can't you do anything right? Worthless little brat.
What a child learns about violence, a child learns for life.
Somebody's going to get hit.
Teach carefully. We can show you how. We're ACT, Adults and Children Together Against Violence. And if you're a parent or caregiver, we can help you teach your child how to rise above violence, not succumb to it. Visit actagainstviolence.org for details or call 877-ACT-WISE for a free brochure. Call today, 877-ACT-WISE, and stop violence before it starts. This message brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Psychological Association, and the MetLife Foundation.
A boy born in Joplin, Missouri was fascinated by anything with wheels and a motor. The odds of him going on to fascinate millions with his talent? 1 in 260,000. The odds of this born racer having 157 career top 10 finishes in NASCAR? 1 in 125 billion. But every driver seeks the pinnacle of their achievements. The odds of him winning both the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year? 1 in 195 million. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I'm NASCAR driver Jamie McMurray, and my niece has autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a boy who didn't talk for a long time. The boy liked things to always be the same. Any changes would scare and upset him. The unknown was an unfriendly place. The boy was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. He wasn't trying to be mean, it just made him feel uncomfortable. Sometimes he would flap his arms again and again.
One day, I found out I have something called autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I found my voice and learned all the ways I could live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Welcome back, my friends. This is Macil Duncan, and this is the Macil Duncan Radio Show, broadcast live from Chattanooga, Tennessee. I just want to tell you, I really, really love my Tennessee Vols, and Joe Clack, who is one of the professional commentators, and he homes in on college football. He is predicting Tennessee to do well this year. Let's hear what he's got to say.
Folks, Tennessee is impressive. They lead 22-3 going into the fourth quarter. They've got a stifling defense, one of the best in the country, I think, especially after watching it. They jump between man and zone, between pressure and drop eight. I love their schematics. I loved their game plan. They've got absolute men on the defensive line that were just mauling the offensive line of the Sooners. They're really good. And this is outside of even just like Nico. Nico Iamaleava played really well for a young player making his first true road start. So I told you he was going to turn the ball over. I told you that last week, and he did. And now he's got that out of his system. I think that's one of the worst games he's going to play. what was he, 13 of 21 for like 194 and a touch, 2 turnovers? I think that's one of the worst games he's going to play this year. And they won on the road against an elite defense. So, like, where does that leave us with Tennessee? Love their defense. They're incredible. Their defensive line is sensational. Their quarterback just played the worst game of maybe his year. At least I think it's going to be the worst game of his year. And he was throwing seeds, man. The touchdown pass that he threw early in that game, I was like, whew, makes you come out of your chair as a former quarterback. You just don't see that much, especially at this level. Like, Tennessee is an elite team. Their defense finally gave up a touchdown after not giving up a touchdown in their first 15 quarters. Nico did make a couple of mistakes, but this guy is tremendous. I think it's time to call Tennessee what they are in reality, and you see this reflected in my rankings that I put out. I put them at number 4. Tennessee is a national championship contender.
Thank you. Tennessee is a national contender. Now, we do have a great quarterback, and some of you probably heard me play this before, but how do you pronounce his name? A lot of folks are challenged with this. So let me, there we go. How do you say his name?
Nico Iamaleava. You might as well learn how. Oh, what? You don't believe me? Fine. Nico, get in here. Say it. Tell him.
Yeah, I'm Nico Iamaleava, and the correct way to pronounce my last name is Iamaleava.
Iamaleava. I'm getting better.
Iamaleava.
Iamaleava. Not lava. Ava.
Iamaleava.
I'm getting there. Anyway, go Tennessee, go. Don't know who your team is, but it's nice when your team is winning and interesting. Now, we're in a political season, as you guys know, and being in a political season, there's going to be a lot of attacks, and one is on Mayor Adams. Mayor Adams, now I've played this off and on for over 4 months. This again, let me just play the first 30 seconds.
There's a movement to radicalize young people, and I'm not going to wait until it's done.
This was New York Mayor Adams. Now, as I play the video here in just a moment, he goes on to talk about how Black Lives Matter came to his town. And his voice quivers because I think he knows I'm going against the narrative. I'm going against my party. But he's what I think he's saying, I love my city more than a political party. I don't know. Now, some people say, oh, Macil, he's a typical Democrat. No, he's not. No, he's not. Mayor Adams has been threatened by the FBI now for the 5th time. He's lost his police chief. He's lost 2 or 3 other cabinet members. Folks are resigning under pressure. Why? Why are they going after this guy? I've got several things picked up on him. There's so many articles. You can go to the New York Post, and that's where I'm going right now. Historic federal indictment against Mayor Adams claims, don't put the word claims, it's not proven, claims he took $123,000 in free luxury travel, ritzy perks. Now let's be honest. In New York, $123,000, that's not even a Happy Meal. That's a French fry. Okay? But they're digging everything they can up on this guy because he will not go along with the narrative. Mayor Eric Adams took bribes according to $123,000 in free flights and other ritzy perks from foreign nationals in exchange for favors, according to a bombshell federal indictment unsealed by Manhattan prosecutors Thursday. Tells you one thing, if it comes out of Manhattan, it's filled with minutia. It stinks to high heaven. The 5-count indictment, the first against a city New York mayor. Again, the first against a city New York mayor. You're telling me he's the first mayor in New York to ever break the law? What about Bloomberg? De Blasio? You telling me those guys were squeaky? And de Blasio's not even his birth name. That he gave when he went into politics, he came up with a fake name, so you can't track his real history. That's a doozy. Have fun with that one. But let's keep the story of the day. The 5-count indictment, the first against a sitting New York mayor, details an alleged decade-long pattern of corruption by Adams that includes fraudulently obtaining $10 million in public campaign funds. A pattern. Seriously? I'm not believing this. You guys might. No, I'm not saying he's squeaky clean, but you're telling me this guy all of a sudden, right before a presidential campaign, and by the way, to my knowledge, he's not endorsed Harris. If anyone else knows different, I've been looking. I don't think he's endorsed Harris and Walz. Interesting. So the revelation came after the mayor was indicted by a grand jury on conspiracy, wire fraud, and bribery charges amid the long-running federal probe. In 2014, Eric Adams, the defendant, became Brooklyn borough president. Thereafter, for nearly a decade, Adams sought and accepted improper and valuable benefits, such as a luxury international travel, including from wealthy foreign businessmen and at least one Turkish government official seeking to gain influence over him, and the 57-page indictment of charges. Okay? As Adams' prominence and power grew, there's the key. See, New Yorkers love this guy because he's fighting against immigration. He's actually before all this, he was building a national profile. This guy possibly, in 2028 was thinking about tiptoeing into the presidential race. Just read between the lines with some bit of open-mindedness. As Adams' prominence and power grew, his foreign national benefactors sought to cash in on their corrupt relationships with him, particularly when, in 2021, he became clear that Adams would become New York City's mayor. The filing continues. So if they had all this bad stuff on him, why did they not release it till now? 10 years probing the dude, supposedly investigating the dude, why would you let him become mayor if he's so bad and toxic? Why now? In a sprawling indictment, prosecutors laid bare an alleged scheme that helped Adams underwrite a 2021 mayoral campaign while showering him with free hotel rooms, flights on Turkey's national airline, and meals at high-end restaurants. In exchange, Adams allegedly pressured Big Apple officials to waive inspections and push through approval for the Turkish consulate in Manhattan, the indictment charges. So, keep in mind, one, Turkey is a Muslim country. This would try to lay credence that even though he's standing against Palestine, that somehow he's talking on both sides of his mouth. You're getting where I'm going. As part of the scheme, prosecutors allege Adams accepted the straw donations facilitated by senior officials within the Turkish diplomatic establishment in exchange for him and his companions getting free for discounted flights to a flung destinations such as France, China, Sri Lanka, India, Hungary, and Turkey. He is accused of accepting tens and thousands of dollars in these free flights from Turkish airline while he was Brooklyn brought president and indictment charges. So anyway, this sounds to me like it. I think this is political fodder. Now, I'm not saying he's not done any of these things, but from what we've heard about the Clintons, and look, Harris, she's bringing in Zelensky. Talk about election interference. why are you bringing in Zelensky to visit with you in Pennsylvania and other swing states to make campaign speeches for you? Now, if Donald Trump brought in Meloni from Prime Minister from Italy, the Democrats would go crazy. Of course, I don't think if they're going to do it, I don't think that'd be a bad idea, sir. New York Post also says defiant Adams vows to continue as mayor after federal indictment unsealed. He said, "My day-to-day will not change." Well, good for you, Mayor. Don't let them bully you. Have your day in court. I still believe in the little bitty statement that says innocent till proven guilty. And the key word is proven. It's going to be interesting to see. But this, again, is the mayor. He was very strong against some things. And he was. This was on the Rubin Report. So check this out. This is Mayor Adams 4 or so months ago.
Lives Matters March, when it was brought to my attention, Black Lives Matters March, the Black Lives Matters March.
You hear him stumbling. We said Black Lives. This guy, that took some stones, my friends, to say that him being a black man in New York City, a Democrat, he is going against one of the Democrat bully programs. Again, this is Mayor Adams.
Indicators from the Black Lives Matters March, when it was brought to my attention that there were those who came to the city to disrupt our city, and she was able, through her team, was able to conduct an investigation, and what I feared was actually materialized and actualized by those who were on the ground. And I know that there are those who are attempting to say, well, the majority of people may have been students. You don't have to be the majority to influence and co-op an operation.
To influence and co-op. Now, you hear what he's saying there? He is accusing the Palestinian protesters, this was back when it was first starting, that they were influencing and causing some concerns. So with him doing that as a Democratic mayor, this upset some people, not to mention if he was getting some freebies from Turkey and Muslim countries, they're probably saying, hey, wait a minute. I thought we paid that guy off. Hey, Democrats, I thought we had a deal. You were going to turn on the Jewish people, and you were going to embrace us Muslim countries and Palestine from the river to the sea and see them extinguished. How come this guy's not playing ball? Because somewhere deep down in Mayor Adams' heart, I believe in his heart of hearts, he knows this isn't right. I'm going to rewind and play that last part again, and then listen to what the dude says about them manipulating the children globally. He used the word globally.
People may have been students. You don't have to be the majority to influence and co-op an operation. That is what this is about. And so if we want to play the word police, you could do so. I want to play the New York City police, where we're going to protect our city.
And what did they went after the New York. Now, his police chief has now resigned. Others in the police department, the woman he talked about that stood wrong against Black Lives Matter, she's gone. Everyone he bragged about in this speech a few months ago, they have pressured into resigning. He's the last Mohican.
From those who are attempting to do what is happening globally, there is a movement to radicalize young people globally. There is a movement to radicalize young people globally. There is a movement to radicalize young people.
Are you listening?
Globally. There is a movement to radicalize young people.
There is a movement globally to radicalize young people. For a Democrat of distinction, of a large, for him to say that, he had to know they were going to come after him. And come after him they did. The FBI has pretty much become the bullies of the DNC. I mean, whenever Donald Trump was president, or even Bush, you didn't see the FBI raiding homes in the middle of the night and stuff like you have under Democratic presidents. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that? Pay attention. So you got Mayor Adams, and I'm just going to play this a little bit more, just because the guy's being attacked. I think he deserves to be heard.
And I'm not going to wait until it's done and all of a sudden acknowledge the existence of it. This is a global problem that young people are being influenced by those who are professionals at radicalizing our children.
Professionals radicalizing our children. What other Democrat do you know that says this? Can you tell me any other Democrat other than maybe RFK Jr. now and some others, but up till a month ago, this is the only dude that was calling out this global manipulation of children in the Democratic Party. And it's cost him.
And I'm not going to allow that to happen as the mayor of the city of New York.
I'm not going to allow that to happen as the mayor. So they're like saying, okay, then you're out. Interesting, is it not, that this guy has that kind of courage? But see, what's happening is there is a conscience coming about within the Democratic Party. Here's a Democratic operative. She says she's leaving the DNC because I can't stand it anymore.
So our next guest, a Democratic campaign operative who is leaving the party, says she worked to raise millions for the Democratic Party, only to realize their hypocrisy. They're the party of the rich. Evan Barker joins us now. Evan, I got to tell you, I'm so fascinated by you because I was once a Democrat as well, knocked on doors. It was really my party. And then something happened. I'm curious, what was the main thing that caused you to just say, I'm done?
There was a lot of things, to be honest. I just want to say it is so crazy that I'm even speaking to you.
Listen to what she says. It is so crazy I'm even speaking to you. She goes on to say, and I'm going to let her say it, a month ago, if you told me I'd be on Fox News saying this, I'd tell you you're crazy. Something has happened in the last 30 to 40 days that's made a very, very progressive liberal lady leave the Democratic Party. What is going on or being revealed in the deep crescents of the Democratic Party?
Crazy that I'm even speaking to you. If somebody had told me a month ago that I was going to be talking to Fox News, who I've been told is the enemy, I would never have believed it. But basically, yeah, I've worked in Democratic politics a long time. I've raised them millions of dollars, and I went to the DNC last month hoping to feel re-inspired, and instead I just felt like I was in a room with the most out of touch and elite people in the world. And
the most out of touch and elite people in the world. Now, Mayor Adams, I just played for you, talked about a global organization trying to influence the young people globally. She's talking about global elites. This is nothing new. The Democrats went global many years ago. But there's something inside this global message that's got even a liberal progressive lady saying, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
You know, I'm originally from the Midwest. A lot of the people in my family are union workers or have been in unions, and they are people who once voted for Barack Obama, and now they vote for Donald Trump. And for a long time, I did not understand why.
Did you hear that? A lot of them used to vote for Barack Obama, and now they're voting for Donald Trump. They're union workers. Blue-collar Democrats said they used to vote. Barack Obama, think about that. That wasn't too long ago. And now they're voting for Donald Trump. So let's hear her say that again. This to me puts butter on the bread, my friend.
Once voted for Barack Obama, and now they vote for Donald Trump. And for a long time, I did not understand why. And after raising money for Democrats and just being in these circles, I have realized that the donors control the party.
Oh, yeah.
The donors control the party. That's a nice way of saying money laundering. So that means people like Schumer Pelosi. Yeah, they're saying what they're told to say.
They control everything. They control what the candidates prioritize. And I know that Republicans also have this issue too, but Democrats are much bigger hypocrites about it. And so I think what it comes down to is...
Did you hear what she said? Now, she said, it's just 30 days ago. She's now calling her own party hypocrites. Did you? This is a progressive, liberal young woman calling her own party hypocrites.
Have this issue too, but Democrats are much bigger hypocrites about it. Are much bigger hypocrites about it. You too, but Democrats are are much bigger hypocrites about it. And so I think what it comes down to is just the hypocrisy and the fact that I don't recognize this party anymore. You know, they've become the party of Dick Cheney, of Goldman Sachs, of endless proxy wars.
So old Dick Cheney that shoots people that he gets mad at on hunting trips. Dick the Cheney, is that what tipped her over? Dick and Liz Cheney are repulsive, putrid. They are, and don't forget, he was George Bush's vice president. They say that he is one mean person, vindictive and very mean. This is a Democrat lady that left just a few, about 4 weeks ago, and she didn't name, the one name she mentions is Dick Cheney.
Dick Cheney, of Goldman Sachs, of endless proxy wars, of identity politics, you know, and I'm just at a point, you know, I've been very brave the last couple of weeks and I've gotten a lot of flack from a lot of people. And I'm just at the point where I can't stand it anymore and I have to speak out. So that's why I'm here.
You know, Evan, we're happy to have you on Fox News. And look, 15-year-old Lawrence Jones probably wouldn't have been on Fox News as well. But here I am. You see things change differently. Right. You grow up. So let me ask you this, Evan. What happened to the party? Because one thing I found out is about the working class. It doesn't seem like they're even concerned about, you know, the prices when people go to the grocery store.
I know, and this clip that you guys just played with Oprah and like all these celebrities zooming in from their mansions. I mean, they're just telling us basically that all we need to have is optimism and joy, and that's going to fix our lives. And I'm just tired of it.
Bingo. I think after a while, you know, the hope and change of Obama, I think they realized the change didn't bring much hope. It just made the elites richer, the middle class poor, and of course the poor poorer. See, Marxism, socialist if you will, they only want two classes. They want a very few elites, and the rest of us are to be servants and serfs. Why? Because they have this weird belief that, you know, you and I don't deserve to own anything. Do you remember Klaus Schwab said, you'll own nothing and be happy? Well, this is Klaus Schwab. He sang a little song. I don't know if you heard Klaus explaining his view.
Here's a little song I wrote. You might want to hear it in your pod. You'll owe nothing and be happy. Ain't got no cash, ain't got no car, but 24 booster shots in your arm. Owe nothing. Be happy. You can't even buy shit in the store because of your low social credit score. Oh, nothing. Be happy. You will own nothing and be happy. Be happy and eat the bugs.
Damn, it feels good. Be happy and eat the bugs. I don't know about you, but every time I hear that song, it just reminds me of Davos And when he came out and said that, and remember, he also said in the future there'll be chips in the back of your head. You won't need keyboards, computer screens, or even phones. You'll just see it in your brain, but you'll have to put these chips inserted, and then you'll see everything inside your mind. Hell will freeze over before you put one of those suckers in my brain. I don't know about you. I don't want Mr. Klaus Schwab singing his little jingle in my head, and I do whatever he says. Interesting. Interesting, my friends. I think we've got to wake up and understand this is something, and I appreciate what he said, how much time, as we're wrapping up here, about ready to go to break. It's almost coming up on the second hour. Understand, don't forget what this brave lady said. She goes, I'm a progressive, and I'm done.
As a progressive, proud member of this body for the last 12 years, I'm done. I'm done with us protecting people who would buy and abuse our children. I'm done. I don't want to send more black and brown men to prison. I don't want more people in prison, but I don't want people buying girls.
I am done. Way to go, Senator Eggman. She is from California, progressive left lip lock liberal, saying I'm done supporting that agenda. Something's happening deep in the inner parts of the Democratic Party. Will we ever truly know? P. Diddy going down, the sexual freakouts things happening. Don't know. Maloney, the one true conservative leader, calling out child sex trafficking, and it needs to stop. When Trump gets in, he'll be the second one. Why is she spoke at the UN? How come no other leader speaks about child sex trafficking? Only Trump and Maloney. Is their silence meaning that they agree with it? I'll be back.
My name's Doug Henshaw. I'm calling from northeast Tennessee, what they call the Tri-Cities area, Bristol, Kingsport, Johnson City. I live in a little town called Elizabethton, and I listen to the Macil Duncan show, number one, because he approaches everything with a biblical worldview in mind, and by saying that, I mean he really seeks and researches to try to find the truth about a matter, and the motivation of why people do what they do, and just seeks the truth. And his sources are very reliable sources that he depends upon, and he just gives us the world through the biblical lens of a biblical worldview. That's number one reason why I listen to the show. And I love America because of our founding and our freedoms that we share. We live in the greatest country in the world, and we need to really pray and fight for what we have, and to move back towards what makes us great as America, and that is our founding and what we believe in, a belief in God. And so I love the Patriot Pastor show, now the Macil Duncan show. I listen to it on a regular basis, and I pray for the show and pray for Brother Macil.
WVMG Chattanooga.
Okay, so Sarah, I'm dropping you off at Emily's? Yep. And Josh, you're going to?
Soccer, Dad. Soccer practice.
Right. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know when I pick you both up, I'll be wearing my short shorts.
What?
No!
Yep.
and my dorky dad hat, and I'm going to do my dad dance for all your friends. They'll love it.
Seriously? Why?
Because I like my short shorts. Of course, I could be talked out of it if you guys would just buckle up your seatbelts without giving me a hard time.
It's important to get your kids to buckle up for safety, no matter what it takes. And sometimes, all it takes is your parental powers of persuasion.
Okay, we're buckling up.
See, all buckled.
Good choice. I'll just have to do my dad dance at dinner time. What?
No!
Do what you have to make sure your kids are wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
All those smiling, happy faces, laughing, enjoying life. Then I turn the TV off, and I'm back to reality. The faces here are not so happy after the spill. I mean, just look around. The fourth-generation shop owner who'd give anything to turn on his dusty open sign. The fisherman with the 1,000-mile stare. People of the Gulf region have been through a lot, and we're pretty good at bouncing back, but we can all use some help from time to time. If you're experiencing increased anxiety, worry, or anger, you should know that the assistance you may need to help you cope is here. For confidential counseling, call 800-985-5990. 800-985-5990. Or text TALK WITH US to 66746. With help, you won't need a TV to see a smiling face, only a mirror. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council. Message and data rates may apply.
I've had trouble with Angel trying to finish high school. He's always struggled through even elementary. It would be frustrating because sometimes I would talk to him and he wouldn't even turn around and look at me. I would ask him, so you're going to school today, right? He would say, yeah. And then later during the day, I would get a phone call saying he wasn't in class. He dropped out for a whole month. There's a time that I just gave up. I just decided, you know what, I don't know what to do with you. I mean, I pretty much have done everything to try to get you back to school. You know, you feel that maybe you're not a good parent, or maybe you don't know how to fix the problem. I really didn't have many people to look to but myself. Now I think that it's gotten a lot better. Now I at least have hope that he'll finish high school. I can't give up. He's still my son. You know, I can't give up.
Give your teen the boost they need to graduate. Call 1-877-4A-KID or join us at boostup.org for tips and advice. Brought to you by the U.S. Army and the Ad Council.
Hello, my friends. This is Macil Duncan, and welcome back to the show. A couple of updates. Hoda is calling it quits. She's exiting from the Today Show after 26 years with NBC. Now, this again is unexpected. It was very tearful, and well, good luck to you. She was always a good one. It appeared to me. She was a woman of faith. Talked about her walk with God. So, Hoda, God bless, and I wish you well. I hope things work out in your favor. I know I sound like the lady from Hunger Games. May the odds ever be in your favor. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be a pun on her exit. All righty, Blaze Media is reporting something that a lot of us were expecting. Eventually, something had to happen that was going to pop the bubble. College football. College football, many of us have teams. You have things you like. This weekend coming up, for instance, Georgia versus Alabama. Oh, my goodness, the pundits and the spending. The bottom line is this: will Kirby be able to beat Alabama without Saban to prove he's the new Mac Daddy of the SEC? But the spin of that is, if Bama beats Georgia, does that prove all along that Alabama's got the superior, program of recruitment, development, and the little bling bling. Before the NIL, there was Bama football. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Cha-ching, cha-ching, pop, pop. All right. So anyway, fearless UNLV quarterback walks off team over missing 100K payment. School claims quarterback made illegal demands and implied threats. I think this is going to become the norm. Now, some say that one of the left tackles for Tennessee had an ankle injury, but evidently he's renegotiating his NIL. Don't know if that's true. I think that's the stuff that you're going to, if somebody goes down, there's going to be suspicion. Is he holding his knee or holding his hand up for more cash? Savvy? Matthew Sulka's family and agent both said he was verbally, remember what the Godfather said, always get it in writing. But he was verbally offered $100,000 by the team's offensive coordinator. Well, the UNLV star quarterback, Matthew whatever, has left the team. Now, if I was Auburn, I would pick up the phone and say, hello. Because Auburn, Cam Newton could pay this kid. He's one of your alumni. Bottom line is Auburn needs a quarterback yesterday. But anyway, I digress. UNLV star quarterback Matthews, I can't say his last name. He's like Tennessee's quarterback. Goofy names, evidently. But he's left the team over allegedly missing a $100,000 name, image, and likeness payment. He made the announcement without giving specifics in a social media post stating that he would utilize his redshirt option for the remainder of the season. I have decided to utilize my red shirt and will not be playing any additional games this season. Now, do you guys remember a quarterback, something George? He had the arm, a cannon, but he couldn't get along with anybody. Do you remember? He was a pedestrian in the NFL, but he would wow people. He had a cannon arm, and his full name escapes me. But you guys that are my age and older, you remember George? And I think he was in Raiders and different places, but he couldn't keep a job because he was toxic. My concern is, could this guy, Matthew, be toxic in a locker room? That's going to be, this is the problem. When you go to social media, my advice, what you should have done, young man, is you should have told your agent handler, listen, what you just said, now say it for me. His agent, now if his agent comes out and says that, everyone gets mad at the agent because that's what the agent's job is. He's supposed to take the bullets and take the blame so that his client looks good. Somebody gave this kid bad advice because now the elite schools are going to be leery of him. The desperate schools are going to go for him. When you go to a desperate school, and I'll tell you another one is Colorado. Shakir or whatever, he's going pro. They don't have a quarterback next year. And Deion Sanders possibly is going to be toxic. If he stays on, I don't know if he will, but he does have another son. And if he doesn't go pro, you wonder if he'll stay. But this kid's going to end up in one of those situations. He's going to end up in an Auburn that is obviously needing a quarterback and they're desperate, or a Colorado. He won't be going to an Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia. That's not happening. I said Oklahoma. I don't know. Oklahoma, I think, may have found their quarterback, but this guy, anyway, sad, is it not? But will this be the norm? Will kids start saying, listen, if you don't pay, I don't play? And that's kind of what it appears happened. So we'll keep our eye on this, and you might as well. But I think that's an interesting story that's going to be developing as we move forward with this. Now, the Daily Wire is reporting how the U.S. vows to send billions more to Ukraine after Zelensky accused of election interference. Zelensky recently warned that if J.D. Vance's policies on the Ukraine-Russia war were enacted, he said, this is a kind of a threat, then America is headed for global conflict. Now, why would little pipsqueak Zelensky say that? understand, Zelensky is a former actor who he was a game show host. He did dancing. He dressed up as a woman and played parts. He was a buffoon, and he played in a comedy pretending to be president in that he was picked somehow out of a lottery system to run, and they made him president over the Ukraine. And he was a bumbling, typical citizen, not knowing policy procedure. And so he played in a sitcom for 5 years, the president of Ukraine, and then voila, they said, hey, let's make this real life. Did you know that? This series is now on Netflix. You can go watch it. So Zelensky, though, I don't know if he's doing a wink, wink, hey, you guys better play ball, but something about the Ukraine, and I've mentioned this before, go back and look at the first foreign trip Barack Obama did when he first went to D.C. As he was a freshman rookie, if you will, his first assignment was to go to Ukraine and broker an energy deal. Why would you send a kid brand new into D.C. off to a place like Ukraine? Next thing you know, he's running for president, and nobody thought he could in the primaries beat Hillary Clinton. Everybody thought Hillary Clinton would be the top of the ticket, and he might be the bottom of the ticket. Well, in a short amount of time, hope and change. And remember, there was a big fight between the Clintons and the Obamas behind the scenes because she demanded to be his vice president. He very wisely said, no, I don't want to have a lead sandwich in between my ears. So he made her Secretary of State, or they did, whoever was helping him make the decision. Barack Obama, when you go back and look, he wasn't that seasoned of a politician to be president. He was very much a rookie. But now he's become the puppet master because, look, here you got Joe Biden, who had 50 plus years and can't get up and down stairs. And it appears, from everyone's viewpoint that Barack was calling the shots, or not Condoleezza, Donna, I can't think of all the different names of his cabinet that were filtered in there. They pretty much controlled him. I don't think he would fight me too bad on that. Well, before we go to break, wanted to play this for you. The White House does announce it's going to give $8 billion in aid to the Ukraine. Now, this is if Harris wins, of course. See what you think of this.
In an effort to help Ukraine, quote, win this war, President Biden announced Thursday $8 billion in military weapons and equipment is going.
Not million, but billion. Billion. Let's listen again.
This war, President Biden announced.
President Biden. Does this guy even know he had cornflakes or Fruit Loops for breakfast?
This war, President Biden announced. This war, President Biden announced Thursday $8 billion in military weapons and equipment is going to Kyiv. The announcement comes as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's visits to the U.S. for the United Nations General Assembly. The Biden administration held talks with Congress to allow it to use nearly $6 billion in military aid for Ukraine before the end of the fiscal year.
So here's the deal. You've got Zelensky flying around on Air Force One with Harris making campaign stops. Biden comes out and says, hey, by the way, we're going to give you $8 billion in the new year. Hint, hint, if you help us win the election. So why would we be pandering to global people? Now, I brought to you, it was a leaked memo that the Democratic Party is looking for 9 million overseas ballots. Now, when you look, there's only 2.4 million qualified that live outside of America to vote in the election, primarily military. But you have folks that are like missionaries, people that maintain their citizenship, and they deserve their right to vote. So if you can only in governmenttrack.com prove 2.4 million eligible Americans abroad, How are they going to get 9 million votes? Of course, how did Joe get 81 million in 2020 when he hid in the basement? It's an amazing thing, is it not? I'm still very shockerooed at how some people are easily influenced by some of this stuff, and I hope and pray that sanity wakes up and earns the day. But anyway, this could help end election confusion. The Federalist has put out this article. This case could make elections actually end on one day, and I love this. If the Supreme Court upheld the Fifth Circuit, that decision would wipe out all state statutes and allow absentee ballots received after Election Day to be counted. Now, during the 2020 pandemic, Mississippi extended the deadline for mail-in ballots, allowing ballots to be received and counted for 5 business days after the election. See, this stuff's insane. So, Mississippi extension violates federal law, the suit says. If this goes through and they declare Mississippi unconstitutional for extending mail-in ballots after Election Day, this would have a federal sweep into Philadelphia, Wisconsin, all these places where Trump was leading, and then all of a sudden the mail-in ballots over a few days, just kept coming in. I don't know about you. I just want a fair election. If the liberals win fair and square, I'm fine with that. But when there's the residue of cheating, that's what makes folks, and that's what they want. They want to discourage you and me from voting. And you and I have to be determined, no, I am going to vote. I'm not going to allow anybody to manipulate me or to make me back up or shrink in what I know to be true. So I hope you will understand that. But pray for that Supreme Court case, and maybe we'll see something happen that could change the voting. Because if we had Election Day in one day, I believe that would be amazing. I mentioned this earlier. I thought I'd just remind you in the Gateway Pundit, Panama's president says Biden's open border is leaving a trail of decomposing corpses. Decomposing corpses in his country. That's the president of Panama. Basically implying that with these mass movements to America, all these small countries, as they move through, are leaving a huge amount of destruction. They're looting, they're crime, there's issues, and they don't have the government or the civil laws to handle this. So George Soros and the Open Society and these other groups that are paying to have these people bust and marched in, they should, I personally think, somehow be held accountable and be told, hey, you've got to pony up and make this right. That's what I think would be fair. That's just me. I know I'm one with hope and aspirations, but anyway, check this out. Korean Olympic pistol shooter lands an acting role.
A South Korean pistol shooter who...
So, hang on. I got to rewind this. The Google tries to mess this up.
A South Korean pistol shooter who captured the internet's attention with her silver medal performance at the Summer Olympics is now stepping into the world of acting. Kim Ye-ji has landed her first acting role, and fittingly, she's playing an assassin. Indian actor Anushka Sen took to Instagram to express her excitement to work together on their upcoming action movie Crush. The entertainment firm behind the film says it's excited to see the chemistry between Ye-ji and Sin in their new roles as a killer duo.
How about that? So do well at the Olympics, you might land an acting role. But good luck to you. I hope it works out well. Now, if you and I want to be a part of the future, the thing I think to do, of course, is pray. But the church, I'm going to talk about that in the upcoming moments if you want to stay tuned. Some of you will be tuning out and it'll click back in later. But what can the church do in the future with things going the way they are? Several folks think, hey, this is the end time. I've had some people say, hey, preacher, do you think the Antichrist is in the world today? And others that think, hey, everything's in line. I listened to a pastor today that said he believes that the end times could happen at this very moment, that the Antichrist could be revealed after the resurrection of Christ. I mean, excuse me, after the second coming of Christ, and that the mark of the beast could come after. Depends on how you view. But there's three things to keep in mind. When they start rebuilding the temple in Jerusalem, it's buckle up, buttercup, it's happening. Secondly, if you are around and there is a world leader and America falls on others and he's shot in the head, it says there'll be a wound to the head and he'll be pronounced dead, and 3 days later he'll supposedly be alive. Trying to imitate the resurrection of Christ will be the Antichrist. And the other thing is the Antichrist, when he takes over, of course, there will be one currency. There'll be a unity. And see, that's where, just based on that alone, just based on the biblical scripture of the Antichrist wanting to unite the world under false pretenses, makes me anti-globalist. Okay? Because I understand once that happens, now some say, well, why don't you help make it happen so Jesus comes back? Kumbaya. Kumbaya now, Lord. But no, that's not the way it works, okay? As Christians, we want to hang on to the last moment if we can so that we can see folks saved. Just like today when I went down and got to have a spiritual moment with my pal Harold. And I shared with that early in the show, but if you're just tuning in, I got to go downtown and we were feeding the hungry and helping the homeless. And a gentleman named Harold came up and I got to pray with him and help him out. And to me, there needs to be more of that. We need to be de-commercialized. And the church, it's going to be a shockaroo, but once the revelation does hit, the church that you know today will not exist. I don't know if you can imagine this, but having to go to people's homes, meeting in basements, singing in whispered voices, how great thou art, and amazing grace. Because if you were to light up the band and put on the light show, and they'll hear you and come arrest you. See, the things we do now that bring a lot of show and glow to us, you got to is how much is it a glow to God? It really is. You're getting down to nitty gritty time. And what are you doing to take the gospel to your neighbor and to a friend and to the homeless and to the hurting? Pray about that. Now, I'm not saying if your church has a praise band and those kind of things. I've served in many churches with those. That's not a mark of the devil. That's not my message. But my point is being, when the Antichrist comes, the way you do church now will change. It will go back and reflect more like the book of Acts. And I've shared this with you before. But if you go look at the book of Luke, Luke wrote that to most excellent Theophilus. Okay? And as he's talking about most excellent Theophilus, most likely Theophilus was a high Roman potentate, and he led him to Christ using the Gospel of Luke. And then if you look at the book of Acts, that's basically Luke 2, because Luke is the author. And if you look in chapter 1 of Acts, he writes it to Theophilus. He drops the title. He doesn't call him most excellent Theophilus. He just calls him Theophilus, because they're pals now. I believe Theophilus had been led to Christ. And in the book of Acts, he tells of the 3 missionary journeys. 3 times he explains Paul's testimony. And he talks about the persecution and the early development of the church. Savvy? So I believe that's what will be kind of gone back to when it's illegal. I mean, look at what's happened in China. They said the underground church in China, because of persecution, was the fastest growing church there for a long time. Right now, you know which country has the fastest amount of Christianity right now? Iran. 82% of Iranians polled hate their current leadership and their current religion. They're coming to Christ in droves. Why can you tell that? Because the download of Christian programming and scripture and stuff, people can count that. And it's evident there's a huge download of scripture in Iran right now. So something for you to pray about and understand. We're about to go to break. I'll be back after the break, and I hope you guys will stay on tune. And I've got a fun song here. It's one of my favorites. I love, love, love. And see if I can find it here. Here it is. This is good. This is my country.
They're talking about taking our rights away in the heartland where the Eagles play. You can't replace a man with a worn-out hat, or the steel in his hands, or the boot on his mat. I sweat on fields in the morning light, and I'd rather fight than lose that sight. Silver screen costume men with their tails, but I've lived the dirt roads and the hardback trails. This is my country, this is my fight. From dawn till the dusk, I'll stand for what's right. Hard work in our veins, pride in our song. We'll hold our ground, it's where we belong. Crushing the dreams in a factory town, telling us to lay our rifles down. But a country boy's grit, it just won't break, for the roots run deep in the lands we stake. I heard Grandpa's stories about the war and the farm. His legacy beats in the stubborn arm. No sooner the creek can take his flame. As long as I breathe, I'll carry his name.